It's irritating, it's frustrating, and even dangerous. And that's during times of peace. But during a conflict, it can be deadly. And that's why it falls under the larger umbrella of electronic warfare. It's a jamming attack, and it's one of a handful of electronic counter-space weapons. So what is a jamming attack? Well, very broadly, we're talking about radio frequency signals used to interfere with communications. Now, this can be in the uplink or the downlink phase, or both. But there is a slight distinction between the two. Firstly, two important conditions must be met for any jamming attack to succeed. The jammer must operate in the same frequency band and must be within the field of view of the antenna it is targeting. So, an uplink jammer is used to interfere with signals going up to a satellite by creating enough noise that the satellite cannot distinguish between the real signal and the noise. A downlink jammer targets the users of a satellite by creating noise in the same frequency as the downlink signal from the satellite. Now, a downlink jammer only needs to be as powerful as the signal being received on the ground, but it must be within the field of view of the receiving terminal's antenna. So, why use a jamming attack? Because it's a very flexible counterspace weapon. And what do I mean exactly? Well, the most destructive outcome of a jamming attack is interference. And it's completely reversible. So there's a high level of flexibility afforded to users of this counterspace weapon during times of peace. Now, during a conflict on the battlefield, that harmless interference could have disastrous outcomes. That's the flexibility. Jamming attacks during peacetime are an effective way of practicing for a real conflict without any serious consequences. And this is usually during military exercises, but it also happens against civilian targets. And yes, that's extremely irresponsible, but it happens. The most flexible feature of jamming attacks actually has nothing to do with times of peace and conflict. It's the fact that the technology needed to jam satellite signals is commercially available and inexpensive, making it relatively easy to proliferate among state and non-state actors. So with that in mind, let's get into the features of a jamming attack. And when analyzing counterspace weapons, it's important to consider 5 main characteristics: reversibility, attribution, awareness, attacker damage assessment, and collateral damage. So let's do it. Now, firstly, a jamming attack is entirely reversible. And when a jammer is on, it's causing interference. And when it's off, nothing is happening. So jamming attacks can be difficult to detect or distinguish from accidental interference, making attribution and awareness rather difficult. The attacker's damage assessment is limited in the downlink phase, so only if the local radio frequency environment is being monitored can some assessment as to the success of the attack be made. In the uplink phase, there's no way to assess whether the attack has been successful or not. Now finally, in terms of collateral damage, only the radio signals targeted and possible adjacent frequencies are affected. Okay, homework done. Now let's get into the interesting stuff. Has this counterspace weapon ever been used? What are the dangers and consequences of such an attack? And what does the future hold for this counterspace weapon? Now to do that, follow the link in the description, sign up to a level, and I'll get straight into it. Thanks for watching.